Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and I welcome all of you back to another Rage video where tonight, ladies and gentlemen, following up immediately from Estonia's My Fatherland, My Joy and Happiness reaction, there was something about the video that suggested that a lot of My Fatherland, My Joy and Happiness derives from the song Mammee, where I'm going to apologize in advance if that's not how it's pronounced, which is the national anthem of Finland. Now, there is also some thing that suggests that it's also the national anthem of Sweden. I don't necessarily know if there's any grounds to this, but I kind of wanted to do each national anthem separate anyway, because, well, one of the things I always wanted to do for these national anthem reactions is the idea that every single nation on Earth should have their own spotlight. They should all have their own, they should be able to like say what they say and what they're meant to be for perhaps their own nation, because it would be a little bit incompetent on my end to label several countries together with the stigmata that they all sound like this because of A, B, and C. So that's kind of a little bit why we'll be doing them separate, even if they may play sort of a bit the same, which I think is maybe possibly the best compromise I can make. But with that being said, however, Finland is one of those countries that ever since I started doing reactions to metal bands, Finland has come up quite a lot more times than I'm actually prepared to admit, because let me just go through some of the lists of the sort of bands that I've come from Finland that I've done before. Amorphous, Children of Bodom, Amoral, Mahirit, Insomnian, Leganian Cowboys, Flintoff, Enisorefium, Taurus Before the Dawn, Hanai Rocks, Moon Sorrow, Thrones of Dawn, Cardinate, Stone, Arberium Dawn, Apocalyptica, and of course, Nightwish. And of particular, ladies and gentlemen, I kind of wanted to give a bit of a special shout out to two of these in particular. Apocalyptica, because you may remember a couple of, like, over a year and a half ago, I took a look at an album from Apocalyptica called Apocalyptica Plays Metallica on 4 Big Cellos, which is about one of the most mesmerizing and one of the most captivating ideas for an entire album centered around doing covers of Metallica. However, they do it in the most spectacular way you can imagine, because like the album says, it's literally just a selection of Metallica songs pre-load that is basically just Apocalyptica playing Metallica songs on 4 big cellos. And let me tell you something, you might imagine that sounds like it would be a bit old. It might become a bit old hat, as though there's only so much you can do with that. But no, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something right now. It almost gives the songs an entirely new identity. Like Harvester of Sorrow in Metallica tells a story about a lot of people could aspire the idea of Harvester of Sorrow as about a man who murders his wife and child. When Apocalyptica covers it, it sounds like somebody creating a very sinister but a very stylized rendition of Sweeney Todd. That's as far as I can work out, because, and again, I'm gonna like leave it for there because I want you guys to check that out for yourselves. And again, they cover things like Sad But True, Master of Puppets, Wherever I May Roam, and again, I'm not gonna spoil any of them because I'm probably gonna listen to them again anyway after this, but you will be absolutely surprised about just what something as simple as that can do for a song. And then we have Nightwish. And Nightwish might possibly be the single greatest symphonic metal band of all time. And again, I used to go absolutely nuts whenever I covered a lot of their stuff in the early days. And it's also sort of one of those bands that I can't really mention without also paying lip service to their greatest fan, Miss Anne Waichoff. And for those that know, will know immediately what I'm talking about. And it's kind of always why whenever I do Nightwish, I always do it with the pretext of adding rest in peace. And because, again, those that know will know fully. Well, those on YouTube who've ever done anything by Nightwish will know immediately the context. And again, I almost can't even think about, like, because of, well, okay, I'll explain why. For those who've ever on YouTube who've ever listened to like Nightwish or done covers or just they're finding Nightwish out for the very first time, Anne Waichoff was I think she was about 71 by the time she sadly passed away, but she would comment, she would listen, she would watch every single person who ever had anything to do with Nightwish at all. This wouldn't just extend to things like Nightwish. There would be all things like Alice Cooper and Within Temptation and Epica. There'll be plenty of things that would fall into that category, but she really would be there if anybody was going to talk about Nightwish. She was their biggest fan, and it's no surprise why, because you're not really the same person after you listen to Nightwish. Again, whether it's Annette Olsen, whether it's, Floor Jansen. But again, if I'm going to do Nightwish again, I probably would have to start from the very beginning and then work my way to the modern day, because it is a very storied and a very, very perplexing and very, very interesting story to go through. And especially because even at this day, I think I'm under the impression that Floor Jansen is still fighting breast cancer at this moment. So make sure to let people know in the comment section that we pray that Floor Jansen gets through this, because breast cancer is in fact, actually, to be honest, for this, I thought I had it. Just for this, and because again, it's sort of surpassed my memory a little bit, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I've actually got two of these pins, by the way, because I knew two people in my own life who died following breast cancer. So again, it might not be 100% like the easiest to see, but I have a lot more stuff like this as well, but that's besides the point. So with all that being said and done, let's explore, shall we? From perhaps the great halls or the great depths of Helsinki, how Mammee came to be. It's also the country that's also home to White Death, as he is known as, the greatest sniper in history. It's also the only country in Europe, as far as I'm aware, where if you're going to do a driver's test, you have to do a power slide in order to pass. True. Anyway, let's begin. Please rise, ladies and gentlemen, for the national anthem of Finland. Our land. Okay, so I am going to go on a limb here, ladies and gentlemen, and say that it doesn't really sound like it only really sounds like Estonia's national anthem, only in possibly just the way it maybe comes together, but because it's almost done as a melody, as acoustic, as though it could be performed without music, which must be a really interesting idea for when it comes to things like, when it comes to like maybe scenarios where they would have to play the national anthem, because it's possibly one of those things where you might even have to have like a choir out, because it's really mellow, but it's also it's got one of those beautiful tones where it rings all the way through the mountainsides and the lakes and the shore. It's almost like it's curiously like almost one of those national anthems that you should play at night, as though it's something that like you could like look outside and see perhaps the aurora borealis going on outside, and this would just echo, and it would cause the wind to stop, and even the snow-covered hills to perhaps just cool it off for every now and then. And again, this is sort of one of those things where I would more than anything love to travel to Finland myself, just because I really do want to see what it really would be like. Because again, I'm sure the contrast between living in Finland versus visiting it would be very, very different. Not to mention getting your head around perhaps the language would be a very interesting experience in itself. But I've also heard some very interesting things about Finland as far as like statistics go, because I just kind of wanted to just some very small things about this, because I did hear that apparently Finland is one of the really I heard it's like one of the happiest places to live in, even though I think Helsinki might not 100% like give the impression, because there was something about Finland had something of a maudlin quality to it, but then again, it's might not possibly be so, because interesting enough, they say here that, well, according to statistics from 2020, that life expectancy for men is 79 years, and for women it's 85 years, that's quite high, to be honest. I must admit. It also has a population of just under 6 million people, which that's kind of interesting. I suppose, again, when you live in, I suppose we'll just go for this as well. It's registered as the world's happiest country. I'm just going to read through this very quickly. The Nordic countries consistently rank as the top of the UN's annual World Happiness Report. But in 2020, Finland leapfrogged the rest to finish top of the pile. The rankings take into account many factors, life expectancy. So, like, life expectancy is like in the upper 70s. So that's quite interesting. Freedom to make life choices. Well, it's something that's very open in the UK, but maybe even more so. Economic strength. Well, I know that actually a lot of Scandinavian Europe, they have some of the best run economies in the world, which again is something I can't say the same for the UK. Generosity. Well, generosity, again, that's something I would have to see for myself, because generosity can come in many different social support from friends. again, that depends more on place and time, but perceived corruption and perceived corruption and views of the survey response. That's almost half of Finland's foreign population lives in Helsinki. I mean, that's pretty. I can work that. I can see that perhaps that only because maybe Helsinki being its capital city, and it would be probably a bit more densely populated than other places, I suppose. And also, the Finnish language is totally different from the other Scandinavian languages, which that's gonna be pretty interesting. And again, when it comes to actually doing the translation video for this, it will also become apparent that there's a lot more I probably am just really like going above the surface about, because there's probably so much more to learn, and I do want to make it a point of honor to really go out of my way to explore a little bit more about this. So you will always make sure to know that there's plenty more where this came from, and I hope all of you guys have enjoyed this reaction video to Our Land, the national anthem of Finland, and I cannot wait to talk with you guys again in the next video. Take care, and bye-bye for now. World's happiest country, I mean, that's no small boast, that.
Hey champ, glad you could make it to the end of the video. I'm super glad you cared this much. If you could do me a great favor and like this video and subscribe to my guy right here. He didn't want to say it himself because he knows I say it way better. Till next time. Mwah!